Sam's cup of tea. Sam's cup of tea.
Hello and welcome to Sam's Cup of Tea. Now, today's content isn't like my usual stuff, but at the moment coronavirus has swept the world, it seems, and it seems like that's all anybody's talking about. Everything seems to be consumed by this, and to be honest, my life has been too. And quite rightly, you know, it is a serious now pandemic, I think they're calling it. But I'm making this video because I feel like I've got a unique insight into what it's been like to live in South Korea as an English teacher. And I'm going to go through kind of like the beginnings of when things got worse and take you through right now to the present. Where now here I sit in an empty classroom with still a week to go before the students are even back. More on that later. My beverage of choice at the moment is, of course, tea. I'm drinking Lipton's, which isn't the best, but Yorkshire tea is hard to come by in Korea. Now, initially, I was skeptical about making this video because I've had a lot to say about my treatment as an English teacher, and it hasn't all been positive. And I didn't make my YouTube channel to pump out negative content. I don't want to go into that area. There's a lot of people that do that really well and some people that really don't do that well, but I just don't want to create a toxic environment on my YouTube channel. That being said, I've thought about it long and hard, and I feel like there needs to be an honest account of this, and I feel like perhaps it will resonate with other people and other English teachers, but also it might resonate with people I want to be clear that this is from my perspective, and I don't speak for other English teachers. It might resonate with them, but it also might lend some insight into people that are thinking of coming to Korea in the future and what to expect. So I apologise if this comes across as negative. Keep in mind that I'm massively appreciative of my position here, being able to teach in a foreign country, and there are a lot of perks to working with EPIC and being an English teacher here, which has been great. But there are also downsides that I feel have been emphasized more. A lot of the disadvantages and issues, I think, with the contracts and the way things are handled have been exemplified during this time of crisis and seemed more ridiculous. So I'm going to start from the beginning, what happened here. So I need my notes for this because I don't remember dates. I'm really bad with stuff like this. Now also, if you're teaching in South Korea as an English teacher, or you're going to, you probably will know about Waeguk. Waeguk is like a website where English teachers log in, they share resources and lessons. I've used that a lot, but it also has a forum about all manner of stuff, and it's been really helpful to use this at the time when we didn't have any information. I didn't have any information about what was going on, whether the schools were closed, but also there's a lot of negativity on there. I know that there might be a Waeguk on here that might come on here and be like, but anyway, there are a lot of strong voices on Waeguk, and I avoid writing on there altogether. I just read what's on there and take it with a grain of salt. I'm not talking to Waegukers here. I'm not talking to anyone specifically. I just want to share my experience. I think it's worth doing. I work for EPIC. Now, EPIC is the government English program, so they basically write our contracts and we go through them, and then they assign us to certain schools. So for example, I work at 2 elementary schools in Busan. And so anything to do with the contract is basically handled by EPIC. So my lifeline is my co-teacher. No one else really speaks that great English, and also it's kind of rude in Korean to go to subvert the chain of command and go and see a principal or something like that. It's just a no-no. You do everything pretty much through the co-teacher, so I have. Now, working for EPIC, there are a lot of benefits. There are a lot of great things about it. You know, you get accommodation supplied to you, and if you don't want that accommodation, you get like an allowance. You get paid pretty well, but there are downsides. Of course, you're expected to do this crazy desk warming thing where there'll be weeks at a time when the school is basically closed to students, but you still have to come in and do your duties, and no one else is here. No other Korean staff, they're all on the holidays, and you're just coming in from 8:30 to 4:30, and the school is basically closed to students. There are no Korean teachers here, and you just come into an empty classroom and do your 8-hour shift and go home, and you can do that for up to 2 weeks at a time. Now, this can be quite demoralizing, and if you go on the Waeguk page, there's people arguing back and forth like, this is crazy, why are we doing this? And other people saying, oh my God, look, privileged Westerners, moaning about having to come in and get paid for doing nothing. And I see both sides of these arguments. I see both sides of them. Having said that, before I came to Korea, I've had many jobs, and I've never had a job where I was required to do desk warming. And I've got to admit that although it can be productive sometimes, it can get pretty demoralizing because it can feel slightly punitive. It's a very strange environment to be in work and yet not have any work to do. Now, some teachers will say, you can plan lessons and stuff like that, but when you've got 2 weeks of time and 9 hours a day, there really isn't that much to plan for. Not only that, a lot of the co-teachers that I work with, I'm at their discretion of what we're teaching, and they kind of fire from the hip a lot of the time. They don't want to do this pre-planning. There's been so many examples where I've come into work and I've been desk warming and I've had relevant documents, contracts for a new contract I've got, a renewed contract. I'm bringing it in every day and nobody wants it, no one's interested. And then all of a sudden when the term starts and I've not brought it in, they need it that day. Oh my God, we need it, it's already late, due in. And it's just the way that they seem to do things here. So having this long period of time doesn't usually mean that you've got any work to do. It really is you coming in, watching Netflix, trying to find stuff to do. Although it's nice to be paid to do nothing, it's also like, I want to work, you know what I mean? I don't want to be putting my feet up and then if you see some janitor or cleaner, it just feels weird. And but it's part of the job, and you take the bad with the good. So fair's fair. But in this circumstance, this is where things got a bit crazy. So obviously the 24th of February was the beginning of a new week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then 3rd of March the school would start. So I was expected to go into school as per normal. But I had some days that they owed me, like a couple of days. So I had days from the 24th Monday, 25th Tuesday, and then I was scheduled to be back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, come into school every day, desk warm, or do any preparation for the kids coming in on the 3rd of March. Seems simple enough. But of course, around the 23rd, 24th, or around the 20th of February, things started to get more serious in Korea. The cases started to multiply. I live in Busan, so Busan is on the coast, it's right at the bottom. And around the 20th, I think, there was a huge outbreak because of this Shincheonji, this religious Christian cult. They don't worship Jesus, they worship like this Korean guy who says he's like the second coming of Jesus or something. It's a bit mental. But around this time, I was still going to school and I heard about this. There'd been someone who's infected, who went to the church and then spread it to all the churchgoers. And this was in Daegu. Now, Daegu is not far from Busan. It's a couple of hours. And so when it hit there, it was a huge outbreak in Daegu. And at this point, you were starting to hear a lot more about it from co-teachers. You would look online, things were starting to really be said. So Daegu had this huge outbreak. And of course, me being in Busan, that was when I realized, oh shit, Busan's probably going to get this. We're probably going to have this. I wonder what's going to happen. And then that weekend, which was the 22nd, the 23rd, we start getting these government messages. Now, if you're living in Korea and you get like a Korean number, like a mobile number, like I've got a mobile phone here, every Korean gets it, every English teacher, you basically are automatically signed up for these government messages. And usually it's like alerts. It'll usually be things like, in Korean, your phone will beep, but it'll be really loudly in a tone that it's not your ringtone, it's kind of like this really piercing sound. And it'll be like, dee, 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 and you're like, shit. And it'll be like, there's an earthquake, or there's or it'll be like, it's really windy today, be careful, and you know what I mean, or it's raining loads. But in this case, it was about the coronavirus, and it was kind of beat by beat new cases. So it was like, a 59-year-old has been diagnosed with the coronavirus. They've been to the library here, they've been to this. And it was just constant, these messages coming in. And it's pretty freaky. My girlfriend also was getting these messages. And then, along with this constant barrage, we also were getting messages regarding things that were closing. So it was like the library's closing from this day to this day. I was seeing more and more cases of the coronavirus increasing in South Korea, advising us to stay in, avoid using public transport. And then on top of this, I hear that the public schools have been closed for an extra week, meaning that the next week wasn't any school and the week after there wasn't any school, and the kids would be returning on the 9th of March. Now, I messaged my co-teacher and say, hey, I haven't heard anything. I didn't get any messages. Basically, I'm seeing all this stuff from the Korean government advising us not to go in. I've got the Monday and the Tuesday off, so luckily I don't have to be in work for the first couple of days. But after that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the next following week when no students are in, do I have to go in? What's going on? So I contact my Korean co-teacher, having not heard anything from the Office of Education, who are in charge of our contract. And I say like, hey, you know, did you get the emergency messages about the virus? I keep getting more notifications. I heard they are temporarily closing down all the schools. Do I have to go in this week and next week? Do I have to go in this week and next week? I'm kind of worried. I don't want to get seriously sick in a foreign country. Hope you're safe and take care. So I'm just expressing my concern that, you know, I'm aware that usually, even if the kids are in, I'm expected to come in and do my usual desk warming, but in this circumstance it feels like there's no real way to avoid public transport to get to school, and it just seems like an unnecessary risk given the circumstances. You know, Korea doesn't really ever stop anything. You know, when you're sick, Koreans don't really take sick days here. If they're dead, they come into school at death's door and they just sleep on the desk. It's this culture here where nothing stops. So the fact that they started closing schools, postponing the terms, told me that this was a real serious issue, that the government were taking this really seriously, and I wanted to do my bit, you know what I mean? And I felt like in going to work every day to do nothing and risking getting the virus, I was contributing to that risk. And I didn't really want to do that. So I get a message back, oh, how's it going? It's right that the schools are closed from this day to this day. You've got your paid leave that you've got for 24th and 25th that they owed me, but after that, you have to come to school from the 26th to the 6th of March, and then the schools will open on the 9th of March. And this just seemed ridiculous. You know, I wasn't happy about this at all. My co-teacher didn't really have much information. She said, I'll let you know as soon as I get the instructions, don't worry, and wait. And I just put, I'm okay, but I'm just a little concerned about risking my health when the schools are closed. I really don't want to get infected. And the situation seems pretty serious. So I had my Monday off work, in isolation basically. This was the vacation day, but I was on isolation, which was great. As far as work are concerned, I'm still scheduled to go into work on Wednesday as per usual, like nothing's happening. So basically the Office of Education hadn't sent the native teachers, us, anything yet. We hadn't got an email, I kept checking the website, there was no official notification. We had no idea what we were meant to do. So basically on the Tuesday, I get a message from my co-teacher saying, oh, I've received a message from the Busan Office of Education. They've said this. And I thought, oh, great. You know, they're going to say, you know, no teachers have to come in until, you know, the schools are open. But no, basically what they're saying were that if English teachers are worried about coming in, they can use their paid leave. There's still the issue of the fact that this is over 2 weeks before we heard anything officially. You know, when there's a crisis like this and there's uncertainty, I think it should have been an absolute priority for them to let us know what was going on as early as possible, rather than, you know, a delayed response. And then the response being, you know, that nothing is really been changed. The one change that occurred was last week. My co-teacher told me that if I really wanted to avoid coming into work until the 23rd of March, that I could use some of my summer vacation, that I could use my 10 days for my summer vacation. Why would I use my summer vacation? But then we go back to the email and there's a little bit of a weird thing, because with the delay in the term because of this, the schools are going to have to pick what's going to give, right? Are they going to cancel the summer camps, or are they going to lessen the vacation? Does that mean we'll get less vacation? We don't know. And what's fucking hilarious about this email is that they absolutely stress in bold writing how the contract is not to be tampered with. You're still required to be in school despite the virus, despite how long it takes you to get to work, or being exposed, or the risk of being exposed. You still should be coming in to an empty school regardless of what the other teachers are doing. You're required to do it. The contract is the contract. And yet, at the end, in non-bold writing, they say, you know, also please note that with the recent change of the 2020 school year, schools will adjust summer and winter vacation period. If need be, the Busan Office of Education may adjust current policy on camp scheduling as well as policy on using paid leaves. Meaning that We might, change the summer camps and the camps and delete them so you can have your vacation, but we also might just change the policy in your contract on your vacation. So now there's this big, huge question mark on everybody's vacations, on their summer vacation especially, and also their winter vacation. And yet their side of the coin is all right. We're still having to adhere to our contract by the book, even though there's this pandemic going on. And all of the advice from the scientific community is basically that in order to stop this pandemic, we should disrupt normal behaviour. And what we're hearing from the Bristol Office of Education is it's just business as usual. Just carry on like nothing's ever even happening. And it just feels irresponsible, and it feels like, everybody signs a contract for a reason. It makes sense to have everyone on the same page, of course, because you don't want people taking liberties where they shouldn't do. But in this circumstance, I really don't see an argument for not changing or making an exceptional circumstance. And the fact that they're not willing to do that in this case for us now, to try and stave off the outbreak increasing or spreading, they're not willing to budge with that, but they're willing to play fast and loose with our vacation in the future, is a little bit shitty in my opinion. So that's pissed me off. So that's enough about my job thing. I'm here, there's an empty school, it's Monday, it's currently 11:30, I've been here since 8:30, nobody here, nothing, silence. So I thought I'd do this video because why the fuck not, right? It's just, so in Korea, obviously, I've seen the news about the West, and the West has this weird fascination with toilet roll for some reason and hand sanitizer. That hasn't been the case in Korea. What's been the problem in Korea has been the shortage of masks. Now, masks are quite common in Korea when you're sick or to avoid the pollution, because the pollution gets really bad. Comes in across the sea from China, but it's also homegrown as well. It's kind of good manners here. If you're sick, you wear a mask. And as soon as the virus got really bad, masks just sold out everywhere. And then the company started to up the price. So before you could get a pack of 5 masks for about $5, about $1 a mask or $2 a mask. And all of a sudden we were seeing packs of 5 masks sold at about $140. It was madness, absolute madness. And then the government started offering certain days when they would open the pharmacies with a few masks, and so people would be queuing down the street for masks. And I remember seeing this in Daegu and saying, the irony is that they're risking getting the virus more. And lo and behold, somebody was tested positive who was stood in the queue waiting to get a mask that was supposedly supposed to stop them. But it's common courtesy to wear a mask. I've got one here. I've got one here. This isn't a surgical mask that really protects you, but it's it's my way of showing respect that I'm not, I don't want to be the foreign guy walking around like, I don't believe in masks, and I don't want to do that. It's been strange. The streets have been quite empty. Coffee shops there's a local Starbucks, a big Starbucks, which is usually packed. It's difficult to get a seat, and now it's just, there's nothing. And I've been out now and again to get some air and stuff like that. It is really dead at the moment, but it's very difficult to get to school and avoid public transport and avoid people. The buses that I get to work are pretty busy. It's pretty difficult to avoid. There's no seats half the time by the time I get on it. Yeah, the whole thing's just, I feel like I've ranted. I feel like as soon as I get on this topic about this thing, I rant and I sound really negative, and I don't want to sound like that. I've had a lot of amazing experiences in Korea, and if you know my channel, you'll know I have a video series called Experience Korea. I like to do videos about sharing the culture and the positive sides of it, rather than focusing on this seems like an inherently negative thing. But I don't think it's representative of Korea as a whole. It just seems to be a problem with the Office of Education. I think that's where my beef lies. It's not really my co-teacher's fault, really, because they're just following what they've been told to. That's the difficult thing, and the frustrating thing about being here is that when something isn't right, or there's some kind of quote-unquote injustice that you want to rectify, it's very difficult to get to the person responsible or to speak to them. So you're always talking to a person of a person of a person, and so you have to be careful and hold off on showing your frustration, because it can be taken as though you're directing it at them, and I know that it's not their fault. And they don't mean me any malice. It's also been interesting living in Korea and experiencing the peak panic of the virus, things being locked down, people going into isolation and quarantine, and then seeing the delayed reaction to the West. Obviously I'm from the UK, and at the time when things were the most serious here, when things were first being closed down, the UK was kind of relatively like, oh, the coronavirus, there's like murmurs of it. But then now, like a couple of weeks later, it's now hit the UK big time and the US, and I'm seeing the same panic manifest in different ways there. So it's been interesting to see that and be on one side of the world and see it progress. I hope wherever you are watching this that you're safe, you're staying okay, and the best thing is not to panic but also to treat it seriously. I think it's best to take it seriously because that's how you avoid it. I mean, you know, Korea have been handling this pandemic very, very well. My throat is like, feels like it's got daggers in it. Yeah, I'll be happy when I get over this illness and also when the schools are opening. I think they should be opening on the 23rd, but I don't know for sure. Maybe they might be delayed for another week. But anyway, rant over. I'm going to try and edit this and make something resembling a logical narrative. But yeah, thank you for watching, and for more future content on movies, games, Korea, things that interest me, please subscribe for more videos, for more content, because I appreciate every single view, every single comment. Thank you very much. Sam's Cup of Tea, signing off.
Sam's Cup of